Yeah. So I get there, follow 5, and I have the arrest already. But my good friend, who was the quarterback at Douglas, he was already a brother, a sophomore, in Pi Kappa Phi. I was between Pi Kappa Phi and Sig Ep. I ended up choosing Pi Kappa Phi. But going into it, we were known as being like the biggest hazing fraternity on campus. And so part of like this whole process is like you don't know what to expect. Like there's the physical aspect of going through pledging, but it's the mental mind fuck, I call it, right? As we call it. That is the worst part about it because you don't know how long the pledging process is. You don't know what's going to be asked of you, and they lead you to believe that this just goes on and on and on. You could be a sophomore if you don't get all this stuff done, and you're never going to become a brother, right? So to give you an idea of the level of how bad the hazing was, our attrition rate, right? The number of people that started in our pledge class that actually became brothers, we had over 50 plus people that started the pledge process with us. Only 15 of us actually made it to become brothers. 1-5, right?
Wow.
So you can do the percentages on that, but it's pretty remarkable.
Less than a third.
Yeah, that kind of just shows you what you're dealing with. And so, I played football, and I've been through a lot of adversity on the field and working out and, running and doing all the calisthenic stuff. I like to party, I could drink or whatever, but this was a whole nother level of, being humbled again, right? And people are like, people look bad at fraternities in the respect of like, I can never do that. I can never have somebody talk down to me or treat me with disrespect, but until you're in that process, and like I've never been a quitter in my life, right? Like if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to follow through with it. And so once you're invested in it, and once you go through a couple of these rituals, right, what we call them, I was in it, and as people started to drop, I'm like, I already went through some bad shit, whatever's headed in front of me, like I'm going to overcome, and I'm gonna get through it. So with this whole process, it ended up being 10 weeks, and I guess I can talk about some of these things. I mean, we got kicked off and all this stuff got, changed. But, hazing was still a big deal. This is what, 2005, 20 years ago now, so 2 decades. Hazing was very much alive since the 80s or 90s, right? So a lot of this stuff was going on, and there was books and manuals, and, I became the archon, which I'll talk about, which is the president of the fraternity. And there was the warden, right? We had all these like Greek terms.
The warden.
The warden. Look at chaplain. Chaplain was the person who was in charge of hazing the pledges, right? Along with every brother. Right? So to give you an idea of the stuff that we did, aside from being like forced to drink tons of alcohol to the point of throwing up, right? Tugging, there was something called the Beam Team, Jim Beam, with the Beam bottles, which to this day I don't drink Jim Beam, where people had to chug the bottle, we had to kill the kegs, chug the bottle, people were throwing up, you couldn't finish until that was done. I was just the start of it, right? The alcohol stuff. Then you got into all the physical stuff where, you'd be in ice buckets with a 45-pound plate on your head. You'd have to do air chairs and, bows and toes, till the point of exhaustion. Then we had this insane ritual called wings, okay? Which I'm pretty confident doesn't exist anymore, okay? And I'll kind of elaborate because there's points where I was a pledge and then when I was a brother because I took over this fraternity, right? And I took over all these insane rituals that we were doing that I knew we needed to change because at the end of the day, I was never a big proponent of hazing, right? I thought that a lot of hazing created animosity and didn't bring the brotherhood together. I definitely believe that you had to earn it. You couldn't, like, there were some fraternities on campus that you just joined and you did something and then you're a brother. And what does it really mean to be a brother if you didn't have to go through any adversity? So there's parts of it that I agree needed to be done. But then there was other stuff that we were doing that just built animosity between the brotherhood. Like you would become a brother and you would always hate that brother for having you do that, we had this insane ritual called wings, which happened in the beginning of the semester. We would vis clean all the walls of the house. You know what vis clean is? Plastic blank tarp, okay? It took my house is disgusting. It's a brand new, gorgeous house now. I've only been there once since it's been redone. But at this time, this house is like there's an old wing and a new wing, and the new wing's like 30, 40 years old and like disgusting, wood walls, like prototypical frat house that I got to live in. I got to experience the whole experience. So it was between the walls, and there were something that were called the wing fucks. Okay? The wing fuck council. All right, as ridiculous as it sounds. And so this was a secret elite group within the fraternity, okay, which were like the baddest brothers, okay. And the way that you got into the wing fuck council was not by choice. I never was a wing fuck thing, okay. And so you get dragged, a brother, unknowingly, they would vote on this council in the kitchen, and they would, during this ritual, grab one of the brothers into the kitchen against their will, and like they're the biggest, strongest dudes in the fraternity, and they would just grab it, right? And so one of my brothers got dragged in. He got dragged into the kitchen, and once you're in that kitchen, they torture you. They beat you. They shave your eyebrows off. You get covered in freaking flour, and you make these disgusting wings, right? And the most insane thing that was happening was they were burning each other in the ass with cigars. Okay. So the hospital at UF is Sands Hospital, right?
What the hell is this, man?
We had to go every semester. We would have these brothers that would have to go to Sands with these cigar burns on their ass, right? Like, and it would always be the same story, like, oh, we fell into a fire, you know what I mean? Or, I fell into hot coals. And like these hospital records would be like, what the hell is going on with these kids, they have to keep going in with the cigar burn. So anyways, the wing fuck council comes out after making these disgusting wings, which I still to this day don't know what was in them. And they serve these wings to the pledge class, who's like forced to drink and are like doing all these forced calisthenics. And then they get these wings and the hot sauce shoved in your face, and it's this disgusting ritual that was going on. Lately, and think of mind, this is early in the pledge semester. So I can tell you that after that ritual, like about half the kids were like, this shit ain't for me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what the hell just happened, but this is not for me. So we had that going on. We had, and think of mind, me, when I took over, I was like, what does this ritual really contribute to making better people and men? It's like people that had to go through this, it was like, you felt a sense of like, what the hell just happened to me? I feel belittled, and so we try to get away from a lot of this stuff. I can tell you that you go through this whole process, there's a series of rituals, and then you get to this last night, which is called. I've never talked about this publicly. I hope I don't get in trouble for this. It doesn't even go on, right? So there was this insane brother, okay, who I never even saw before, right? Like apparently, like he was a brother like 5 or 10 years before I was there pledging, that lived somewhere in Alachua County, who was insane. So he comes out of the woodwork for this one ritual, okay? And he is the last person that you have to get through. And we have to go through this thing called the box, right? And so we're fucking 15 of us left, right? We've been through everything. 10 weeks of fucking hell.
You better not quit.
Yeah, I'm already in, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever it is, like, I'm doing it because, I'm going to be a brother in this time. So, we have to, they strip us down, we have to get pillowcases on our head, and they bring us into the box. And the box is this small room, right, that we're all jammed into with heaters on. And keep in mind, we're up in Gainesville, it's freezing cold outside, but these heaters are rumbling in this freaking box. And it's like 1,000 degrees in there. And we're in air chairs. We're doing push-ups. And this guy, who's insane, like I still to this day think he was smoking like crystal meth. I don't know what the hell he was saying. But he's messing with your mind, saying all these insane things. And you're like sweating. You can barely breathe. And you're doing all these push-ups and stuff. And, I remember being in this box and the pillowcase was filled with so much sweat that it was sucking in your face, right? So you could barely breathe. And they were calling people's names out in the order that they were taken out, right? And so names are getting called, and I'm one of the last motherfucking names called, right? Like a couple of my brothers had to get pulled out. One of them, we're lucky nobody died because you can't breathe. Like one person was having problems breathing, got dragged out of the box. So I'm one of the last few in the box. I'm like, what the hell did I do to be one of the last people in here, right? And I got in trouble, as ridiculous as it sounds, because you couldn't be seen eating during Hell Week, right? There's a whole week of it leading up to this last ritual, right?
Eating?
Eating food. You can't eat food. You can't be seen eating food. Okay? And take I'm skinny bones at this time, right? I'm like, what, 215, 220 now? Like, at this time, I was probably 170 pounds. I'm skinny bones, right? And so my friend and I were starving. We got caught at Chipotle eating a burrito the day before the box ritual. So I was on the sit list for being seen eating. As ridiculous as that sounds, right? So I'm in there. My name finally gets called. I'm like, holy shit, it's my time, right? So I get called. He's like, give me 50 podcast push-ups. And this insane guy, right? So I'm down. I'm doing push-ups. I got a pillowcase on my head, sweating my ass off, right? And he has one of those giant, like, metal spoons that is like you use to stir like soup with, right? It's insane. I can't believe I'm talking about it. Right? So he's stirring soup. He has this.
I didn't know this story. People, I did not know this story at all.
I've never talked about this before. Right? So, he has this fucking spoon, this giant metal spoon, right? And he goes, "Give me 50 podcast push-ups." And like, I don't care what was needed. I was getting the fuck out of that box. I couldn't breathe, right? So I start doing the push-ups, and he's listening to my bare skin with a giant metal spoon, like, what? And I'm telling you, at that point, I was just taking it because I was like, I got to get out of here. I'm doing my 50 podcast push-ups and I'm getting out. So I get out. My big brother at the time, who was the quarterback that I told you about from college, Steve, he had like some kind of family vacation, so he wasn't there. You're supposed to get out, and your big brother's supposed to be there. He wasn't there. So my grand big brother was there, his big brother, right? I get out, and I'm taking the pillowcase off. I'm like, I was there. You're like, you made it. You're a brother. And they look at my back, and they're like, oh. They're like, what happened? I was like, I don't know. They fucking whacked me with a giant metal spoon. So the president at the time, the Archon, saw my back and was like, okay, well, I could get in trouble for this. Finally went in there and got the fucking metal spoon from this insane guy and took it out. So thankfully, nobody else had to take a Latin like I did. So I became a brother, and then I made it. You know, it's like I couldn't sleep on my back for 2 weeks, but I made it.